What's up, Landshark family? Welcome back to the podcast. I got myself, Jacob Stone here, your host, and then Joe Ramos over in California. What's up, man?
What's up?
It's been a minute since we've been on here, huh?
I know, right? Yeah. And it's
Fun to practice.
Yeah, perfect day for it. Nice and cloudy, so I'm not itching to get outside.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice and sunny here, so I might have to go do something later, I guess, but... me and Joe wanted to jump on, do a podcast, basically just me and him to go over kind of our new investment opportunities and what we've been up to over the last few months over here in Jacksonville, Florida. Joe's got some stuff going on in Atlanta, Georgia as well. So, but the reason we wanted to come on is we've actually created not a fund, but basically a new investment opportunity for passive investors to gain some cash flow. And we kind of started shooting it out slowly, and we've gotten a lot of attention from it and a lot of questions and stuff. So we wanted to come on here, explain everything to you guys, give you guys the upfront, information on everything, and hopefully answer everybody's questions. So basically what we got going on is we are bringing on private investors to invest in PadSplits. So a lot of people don't know what PadSplit is. They've never heard of it. The concept has been around for a minute, but basically just to kind of give you a dumbed down version, PadSplit operates as a housing marketplace facilitating connections between like property owners and pre-screened residents that they find through their platform. Their mission involves assisting real estate investors in optimizing the use of underutilized spaces within their properties, making it both financially lucrative for investors and more accessible for individuals who are looking for affordable housing. So basically, PadSplit, the idea is to take a single family home that, let's say, has 4 or 5 bedrooms in it, and we take away any shareable spaces and cram a bunch of good sized bedrooms in there that are usable, good livable areas for people to rent out rooms. The average, I think, studio apartment across the nation is close to like $1,500 a month, which isn't really the most affordable way for a single person to live and make that payment if they're trying to save money to buy a house in their future, start a family, etc. So we're basically renting out these rooms for closer to $750 to $800 per month. Most of these people are a part of the workforce, so they are they're working day and night, and they just need somewhere to crash that's affordable to save money and not spend $1,500 a month. So at the end of the day, if we can build these and give investors a really good return on their money and also provide a service to our community who's in need of affordable housing right now, then we're going to jump on it and do it. So basically what happens is we'll take a property, split it up like I was saying, take away any shareable spaces. You'll have hallways. We'll obviously have our kitchen and everything, and it's really functional as far as access to each bedroom, making sure the hallways are still up to code to where people can slide by. You're not cramming 8 to 10 bedrooms into a house that's only 1,200 square feet. So the specific property that we're looking for is kind of a niche property, and you got to be picky and you got to have an eye for that floor plan that's going to work perfectly for this stuff. So that's kind of where we come in. So I guess as far as the returns, the hold time and stuff, I'll let Joe kind of jump in. But the idea of PadSplit, a lot of people, I kind of explain it the same way as Airbnb. Airbnb itself as a tech company hasn't been around, for forever, but, bed and breakfasts have been around for a really long time. So I know a lot of people who have rented out their houses, per bedroom, either whether that be student housing or affordable housing over the years. There just hasn't been a platform that has come along to make it really easy for investors to find the specific niche of clientele that needs to rent out these rooms, nor has there been a tech company like this to create a platform to make it easier to manage for the long run either. I've thought about, renting out per room on some of my properties, and it's just like the idea of dealing with the overhead, dealing with people in and out in, the capacity outside of a multifamily investment is just sounds like a pain in the butt. But now that there's a platform that kind of does it all for you, it makes it really easy for us as investors to go, yeah, okay, I'm able to provide affordable housing. I don't have to really deal with it outside of the maintenance of the house. PadSplit, the platform, takes care of, finding the tenants, and they don't even call them tenants, they call them members. So that's really cool as far as just making it a community. They're not signing leases. They're actually giving them the opportunity to come participate into affordable housing through PadSplit. So it's really cool. Similar to Airbnb as far as like the way they, collect payment on our behalf. They kind of insure the property, they insure the guests and everything too. So, but I'll let Joe kind of jump into hold times, raising private capital and what we're going to do for you guys.
Yeah, man, you brought up some really good points in regards to the fact that it's actually been around a while. It's just somebody hasn't really taken advantage of this situation. So, I mean, it's kind of like thinking about like a dorm room. I didn't go to college for long, but I did stay in a dorm room, and it's a really similar kind of theory. Or my brother, he was in a fraternity house, and they had like this huge house they had 20 people living in this humongous house. And so I think about it like, oh my gosh, this has been there, and now we're full circle. I mean, I used to rent out rooms for my first house that I lived in personally, and it's just a great low cost to entry for them. And I think what did we say, the deposit's about $150 or $200 instead of, let's say you are renting one of those studio apartments and you have to come in with not only $1,500 a month, but $1,500 deposit and whatever else they are gonna bug you for, right? So, and this way the average rent on these rooms is going to be about $700-800 a month, and depending on the area that you're in, right? So we're going to be mainly focusing in Jacksonville first and possibly branching out to Atlanta later on. But what the advantage is for somebody who is going to be wanting to invest in one of these type of properties with us is that we're going to have multiple exit strategies. So your investment is going to be secure, and you have a property that you'll be able to invest specifically in. You'll get 10 to 12% returns depending on the way that we set up the property, whether it be an 8 or 10 bedroom or something in between, right? It's only going to be a 5-year plan. So for those of you, let's say you have a IRA or a 401k, if you were to be able to either take a loan or wanted to turn into a self-directed IRA, in that case, it's something you won't be able to touch for a while anyways. And this gives you a lot greater return, something that's going to be really solid for a while with a lot of room for growth. So I think it's definitely a great opportunity for anybody who has either some money sitting around, is maybe inheriting some money and they're not sure what to do with it. That way you guys can feel safe in investing in something like this, because there's lots of different ways to go, whether we turn it into something else in the future, or increase the growth, or sell the property and go into an even better investment in the future. So yeah, I don't know if I missed anything there, but just kind of spitballing with that.
So one of the biggest questions we've come across is that 10 to 12% that an investor might be getting as far as like the cash flow, because this is more of a cash flow opportunity. It's not one of our other investments where you're going to get your investment over quick, which we are going to do another episode over that, but this is strictly for cash flow. So that 10 to 12%, cash on cash annualized return, what does that look like for the private investor that's going to be investing with us in one of these?
Yeah, so what you guys will be actually getting on this is you'll be getting an actual cash on cash monthly return. So what's nice is not like you're putting your money in there for 5 years waiting for you to get that money back and the return. You're actually going to get that return up front every month, and that way it's something that you could basically use to either pay your bills or go on vacation, and you just sit back and relax and we'll take care of all the work. And then at the end of the 5 years, that's when we'll decide, hey, did you want to stay in for longer, or did you want to pull that money out and maybe invest in a different property, or just get that return straight back to you. So definitely a lot of different ways to be able to continue to invest, and that way you have some income on the side of whatever you're doing. And just think about it this way, I guess, if you think about getting, let's say, an extra $1,000 to $1,200 a month, if you do that a couple different times, that could help you to phase out of your W-2 job if you don't want to do that, or say you don't want to work as many hours, or even just to kind of build up that extra nut to say buy yourself a property that you can live in. So definitely a lot of different ways. I want people to kind of look at what kind of opportunity this creates for you. And then, just rest assured that we've done it ourselves before with our own properties. And so we just want to create an opportunity to grow larger with you guys.
So another thing that we've, talked about with some people who are actually investing into these pad splits with us now, they've asked for maybe the potential to be more of an equity partner instead of just collecting an annualized cash on cash return. I guess, do you want to jump in and explain kind of what that would look like and what the difference is?
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a good question there, because so for the people who want to be completely hands off, the just getting your return and sitting back and relaxing is for you. Now, say if you wanted to not necessarily be more involved, but if you wanted to be an equity partner with us, that would maybe get you some greater returns, but also you would be a partner in the sense of you're also gonna incur some of the costs that may come up in the future in owning a home. So, you're going to get some other more benefits on one side, but it may be a little bit more work or a little bit more inconsistent in what the money you would be getting. But let's say you wanted to learn how to do this. That could be, a possibility of something that we can help teach you along the way as well if you did want to become an equity partner. It just really depends on what your comfort level is and maybe even what your experience is. That might be, like our first couple investors, one of them is experienced, one of them is not at all. So, just depending on how you want to be involved is definitely another option. So you'd be, a partner in a sense in the whole entire property project instead of just a silent partner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and basically, as far as that 10 to 12% return, if you are an equity partner, that return could look closer to 18 to 20% for a few months. But if, a roof needs replaced or, a water heater goes out, that's kind of coming out of the overall operational expenses, which also comes out of all of our pockets. So that's kind of just a way I'm explaining, like, hey, if something does pop up, you're an equity partner, we all have to split it. The other thing with being an equity partner too is you're going to get more tax advantages as well. So we'll give you a third of the depreciation depending on how many people are involved in one deal. And that kind of brings us to our minimum investment, which we are trying to keep at $50,000. A couple of these investors that we do have are coming to the table with $100K and one with $75K. So the split kind of looks a little different. Ideally, we're looking to keep the amount of people into one investment right around that 2-person. So to do one of these deals correctly with the right, purchase, floor plan, everything, construction, staging, is basically about $100K, we'll call it. So if we get 2 people at $50K, that just, creates a lot more easeability on our side as far as keeping everybody paid and things organized. We've had a couple people approach us like, hey, I only have 30 grand, but I have 3 other buddies that have 30K. And this is what I would suggest to these people, just to simply make it easier for us who, like me and Joe, who are organizing the whole thing and orchestrating everything. If you got 3 friends that have 30K and you guys can come together and create 90 grand or 100, what I would do is actually, one of you go and create an LLC, make sure all of you are members, and start a bank account essentially with all your money into it. And now you all own an LLC. Whether you guys split it, it doesn't matter to us, but then you can come to the table as one investor with that LLC. You guys are going to get the same payout, but at least we're only paying out one entity, not 3. And then you guys can obviously split it however you see fit based on who puts in what. But at least you're coming to the table with one bank account, one LLC. We're not paying 3 to 5 different people out through one investment. So our minimum investment right now is $50K, and it takes 2 people to do one pad split essentially. So I guess some of the other questions that come up so far have been, what are we doing with the pad split as far as, staging and amenities, cleaning, stuff like that. So I'll just kind of run through this really briefly, but, a lot of this, I guess labor overhead, we'll call it, is going to fall on the members who are living here. It's just like a dorm room. If you're going to use the kitchen, you need to clean up after yourself. If you're going to use the bathroom, you need to clean up after yourself. PadSplit's platform makes it really easy for these members to not necessarily complain about each other, but, make some reports. Like if Joe down the road is just leaving his underwear in the hallways and stuff, you're going to get reported and you're probably going to get booted at some point. So they need to clean up after themselves, right? And, if somebody's moving in and out, because some of these people are going to be a part of the workforce, maybe traveling nurses, they might only stay with us for 3 or 4 months and they just want to, save money and rent a bedroom. We're going to have cleaners go through, clean up, that bedroom, the bedding and stuff like that. So we are going to be staging and providing, TVs in each room. We're going to be providing probably, bedding, pillows, just the basic stuff. Some of the stuff that I have heard that we won't be providing is, towels. I've heard of a couple people not even providing comforters because some people bring their own. So we won't be providing a lot of personal stuff like what you would see in an Airbnb. Airbnb's, more of a luxury, I guess is what you would call it, compared to what we're going to provide in PadSplit. So a lot of these, members that are going to be living here need to bring their own personal items as far as what they need to live. We're not, forking out all this stuff for them to live there scot-free outside of them having personal items. So they'll need to bring their own, soaps, shampoos, towels, stuff like that. So the staging on PadSplits are very minimal, but we are going to make them pretty nice. And obviously we are competing with other PadSplits out there. So we are going to make ours as top notch as possible with the mind of, people are working, they're in and out of these. They don't need to be immaculate and luxury, but we also want them visually appealing so we get tenants quickly. So outside of all that, I guess, is there any other questions that you've come across from our investors or other people that have been, kind of asking?
Actually, one thing that I was talking to, another person that I know through real estate, Talisa Stubbs, who actually was on our podcast. Don't have the podcast number off the top of my head, but great episode if you want to go check it out. And she's looking at doing subject to property that seemed like a pretty good deal when we were going through all the numbers and everything. But then one of the last things she said was, it's in an HOA. And I just basically said, oh man, I would not touch it, So I think one thing that, I'm talking to people about on this is just, there might be some neighborhoods, might be some areas where people could complain and, what if regulations get put in place? But what we're looking at and suggest if you were to do one yourself, or what we are looking for is not to put in an HOA, make sure that it has a lot of space between the neighbors, parking, of course, and then near some, metro areas, so that way it's easy for people to not have a car. So those are definitely some things that people have been kind of worried about as far as their investment. Well, what if we get booted by PadSplit? But that's just basically making sure that you get an investment in the right area that makes sense for not only these people, but to not have issues with neighbors. Because like I said, my first house, I did, the whole house hacking thing as they call it now, but I rented out rooms, and then I had a couple vehicles myself, and it was in an HOA, and the houses were closer together. And, I had that one neighbor across the street who just complained about you parking in front of his house, even though he doesn't own the street, and then starts turning the sprinklers towards your car, and those kind of things. So that's just kind of something that I think there's been a buzz around that, But, I think the good thing here is like this versus, I guess, an Airbnb. You're not going to have, hopefully not too much turnover, because what did they say? About 9 to 11 months somebody will stay in the property, and half of them don't even have cars. So I think that's definitely good. Other than that, I think on the money lending side, the things that have come up is just people worrying about their money being secured or insured. And so what I tell people to that is, obviously it's an actual asset, so you actually have a physical property. It's going to be insured because we're going to have insurance on it. There's title insurance, and then it's secured with a contract. And so definitely a lot less risky than what people really think. Just like, I think what you and I were talking about the other day is like, really when you invest in a stock in the stock market, you really have no insurance if that thing just goes belly up and becomes bankrupt. So at least here, there's still a physical property, we all know real estate, goes up in value for the most part over time. So other than that, I think, just being in the right area and everything like that, I think that's pretty much it from what I can think of. So.
Yeah. I mean, location, like you were saying, is definitely, I'll even touch on a little bit more if somebody's wanting to do their own PadSplit, because like you said, I don't remember the exact number. I want to say it is like 50% of the members or tenants, whatever you want to call them, don't have their own vehicles. So whether that be, overall 50% of PadSplits, so you could end up with 10 people that have vehicles, but on average, we're looking at 50% of the members don't have vehicles. So that location you pick needs to be somewhat close to where all the jobs are, or it needs to have public transportation that's a quick shot to where all the jobs are. So the locations that we're specifically looking for is going to be near a highway. One of the ones that we're looking at actually has bus stops literally 2 blocks away. So the public transportation, I think, is a pretty big deal. And then, like you said, parking, making sure you're not in an HOA, making sure you have the space. I think, some of the properties, and especially just over here in Florida in general, a lot of these properties do have some sort of shed already in the back. So just some extra storage, I think, is smart as well. And just making sure you're within a good straight shot to where the work is, because that's essentially who's going to be renting these out. So other than that, I think we covered everything. 10 to 12% returns for investors, and there is a lag on that. We do have one opportunity we are doing now where it's a PadSplit that's already set up that we're working on purchasing. But for the most part, just for full transparency, the initial time that you make your investment before you start collecting your monthly payments is probably going to be close to 120 days. If sooner, obviously we will, give our investors sooner returns, but you got to think we're going to need probably 30 days to close. We're going to be throwing up walls, which entail some electrical work, maybe some plumbing work, depending on how many bathrooms are in these properties. Ideally, we're looking for 4 2s, maybe 4 2.5. And according to PadSplit and their data that they have, for every 4 bedrooms, 1 bathroom is okay. Ideally, every 3 bedrooms, a bathroom would be better, but they're saying for every 4 bedrooms, 1 bathroom is comfortable right now. So, if we can get three bathrooms in a 10-bedroom house, that'll be looking pretty good. But as far as construction goes, we're throwing up walls, which entails framing, drywall, paint, trim, some electrical work, doors. So essentially we're doing a pretty good overhaul. The properties that we're looking at buying are already going to be fixed up. So ideally all the electrical is going to be done, all the plumbing is going to be done, paint, flooring, everything's going to be pretty much updated to the point where we just need to go throw in walls, finish it out, and then we have to stage it, which also means if anybody's done an Airbnb, it takes some time to get things ordered and it takes some time to put things together and make it look right. So we probably got about 15 to 20 days of construction going on, potentially a little bit more depending on the scope of work. And then we also have to order everything, get it staged, get it set up, make sure there's sufficient smoke detectors, safety stuff throughout the house, silverware, plates, pretty much the full shebang as far as staging the property goes. And then we got to throw it up on PadSplit's platform and start marketing for it to get it filled. So 120 days is kind of our, rule of thumb that we're sticking to. The more of these that we do, we'll probably get a better flow and a better idea of how long it's actually going to take. Ideally, my goal would be to get it filled and done within 90 days, but just to be safe and being transparent with our investors, we're telling them 120 days, which is pretty standard. We also have a fund and stuff too, and that was 180 days before payouts started happening. And talking to a lot of other investors, theirs are around that 120 to 180 days too. So it's not something that's uncommon to see as a private investor investing into somebody else's syndication or fund. So, but just wanted to be pretty much upfront about that. But other than that, I can't think of anything else. What about you?
We almost covered everything, but if you guys have any more questions, feel free to hit us up and we'd love to talk to you more about it and let you know how it all works in full detail.
Yeah, for sure. So if you guys are interested in investing into one of our PadSplits with us, feel free to either shoot me an email at stoneproperties537@gmail.com. You can also find me, jstone537, on Instagram. SoCal Traveler is Joe's. We'll also link our website in the description of this podcast, so you guys can just go click on that button and fill out the intake form, and we'll get in touch with you. So we appreciate you guys listening, and if, like I said, you want to get 12% on your money, feel free to hit us up.